Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to Disclosure Tonight. I'm Thomas Fessler, your host, and happy Saturday. It's been a long week, and it's a great time for us to kick back and, sit on the side rings and watch this, if you want to call it the fight for disclosure, unveiling before our eyes. In the last couple days, we've had we've had Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Avi Loeb, as well as Congressman Representative Tim Burchett tracked down and interviewed. We've got an interview from the Hill we'll be talking about. We've got an interview of Tim Burchett that was grabbed by TMZ that we're going to take a look at. We've got some other videos of things that, even news of the Gillibrand Amendment is starting to creep out into the mainstream media. Where has it all gone? Where is the information? Why aren't we hearing this on a regular basis? Well, maybe the people in deep state and the military industrial complex that Greg has brought up that has not been around, not talked about since, Eisenhower has been brought back up. Do we have the pulse of the deep state? I think so. I think we've got a good face on something that President Trump talked about a lot. Even Gary's surprised. Who would have known that this could have been something that in our lifetime, even Cheryl has an idea of what we're looking at, what we're seeing. I'm sure Skinny Bob knows what it is, and everyone in those UAPs knows what's going on, because behind the scenes, the phenomenon's been dealing with the same deep state that's been lying to us, to locking up information, and as what Linda Thompson has been saying in the chat, we're taking disclosure to the next level, and that's what I absolutely want to see, and that's what I love. It's about bringing us all together as a group. Now, let me go ahead and pop into the studio, shall we? And before we get any further, let's go ahead and take a look and see who's in the chat for a great show ahead of us. Well, it looks like our producer, Gary in the back was here first. Thanks for showing up, Gary. I've got you here somewhere, I think. Oh, you're not in this one. Here we go. Hey, Gary. How's it going, my friend?
Hello.
Yes. Just so everybody's Just so everybody's clear. Yes, Gary did go ahead and sing last night for a little bit. But all the other...
I'm not allowed to sing because somebody in the comments...
What you guys didn't hear was as I was playing someone who was doing a share parody of If You Can Turn Back Time. The audience heard it. You guys didn't. So the audience and I were having some fun.
I would like to apologize on behalf of the Thomas Fessler Company that we took minutes out of our spare time to entertain you people for free, and we enjoyed ourselves. I do apologize, and it won't happen again. Thank you very much.
Yes. You gotta have fun with it, or you can never. We're serious about not being serious. So beyond that, let's get you back into the back so you can get some work done. Here you go, and let's see who else we have. Xander is here, officially the first one who's not on the crew. Thanks for showing up. Jimmy M, how have we been recuperating from last night after the show? I went across to Spaced Out Radio, hung out with Dave for a bit, did the UFO report. Hung around for a bit afterwards and had a great time. Maybe it picked up a couple additional subs to the channel, people who liked what they're hearing. And if you're new, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Pontificator emerges from bed ultra late. The pontificator of pontifications. I really need to stop reading the strange hours. Yeah, I get you. We're watching those videos sometimes. Linda Thompson, hi back at ya. Hello, beautiful people. Hello, beautiful Brandy and your great little cute frogs and your hearts and everything. Yes, green is a beautiful color. At least I believe it's Stephen Greer's favorite color, also known as, what is it? DC Muscle Wolf. Hello,
it's
DC
also
Muscle
the
Wolf.
color of snot.
Oh, snot,
Just
really?
saying.
No, my snot.
Big question. I'm always into multiple areas of research. I'm also trying to write my experiences for my son. Ooh, interesting.
Oh, wow.
I think we need to focus on getting the word out on the street that that disclosure that UFOs, UAPs are real. I couldn't go ahead and say it a better way, Linda. Thanks for bringing that up. And I think that's what they've been talking about in the chat. Some great ideas. They need Jimmy M. They need to spill it already. I'm sick of waiting. I have no patience for this. Linda's been waiting since the 60s. Girl, you're giving off your age. Don't want to do that. The day they admit is the day of this is the day the oil dyes. Yes, the government has admitted they are real, just don't know where they are. Well, do you really believe that they don't know where they're coming from at the bottom of the oceans, or potentially some old places in Antarctica that are locked away as giant, huge swaths of land of military secrets, and there's nothing on the surface to see except some giant caves of, gee, I wonder what's inside those caves, guys. We've got Sally Van Devord. Welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, I am tired of my friends and family thinking I'm crazy. Well, it's time to go ahead, Sally, and pass the tinfoil hats of belief to the disbelievers, because there's more than enough evidence out there right now to go ahead and say, yes, this thing is real. We have got Arlene Atkinsell. She's whistling while she works, and great to see you and your happy son. It's always here, always puts a smile on my face, reminds me of the days I did Dragon Tales for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. Always had that happy son behind you, even though we couldn't scroll the background in multiple layers. We've got, who else we have in the background? Scrolled again too fast. It's a little bit bugged, but not too bad. Oh, we'll get there. It hurts most people's brain to fathom other beings. Yes, I actually had a game I wrote years ago called Operation Fathom. This is, let's take it back, 1998, 1997, 1996, when I was doing stuff. I already knew they're on the bottom of the ocean before we even had, what was that movie, The Abyss? And I actually have all the different places where their underground bases are under the oceans. I'll have to go back and find my original design to see how close we are to getting to that point. Well, it looks like we have got a super chat that came in to interrupt our introductions. Mr. Wreakin' Havoc, Sally, none of us are crazy. The people who deny all of this are crazy. And Wreakin' Havoc, thanks for coming in and saying, hey, you've got some interesting videos of some things looking in your window, and we need to figure out what the hell they are when you're sleeping, because...
it's me.
Oh, it's you. It's Greg. You know, for some reason...
1, 2, Greg is coming for you.
That does not surprise me. Yes, we're not crazy, but we are the ones who are trying to bring out the information so everybody doesn't think, well, turn out that they're crazy because something that's real, they're, if you want to call it, saying it's not real, which is absolutely crazy. Oh, let's move on from that, shall we? Thank you again, Wreakin' Havoc. I appreciate the super chat more than anything. Let me get past that and continue on with the introduction, shall we? We've got Brown Top Flop. Hello, hola, kids. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Looking forward to another great show, and I'm glad that you're showing up here, Brown Top Flop. It makes a difference to us in the show and people on the chat. Thank you again. I appreciate that. Who else? Yes, Europa has an ocean under the ice. It does. And it's been going ahead and spurting out fresh water that we've been going and checking out for some time. But what it doesn't have potentially, unless they're living under the ice, is intelligent life. Something that SETI would do better at actually trying to look for, because that's what.
In all fairness, we don't have it above the ice either.
Here on this planet, yeah, we are kind of intelligent, but not quite as intelligent as we need to be. Oh, normal people are still too busy in the bubble of their lives. Yes, they've got their faces in their giant phones or their tablets and not paying attention to what's actually going out in the real world around them. I couldn't agree more. Greg O'Brien is in the chat, and he's in the back. We'll be bringing you out shortly, Greg. Thanks for being here today. Mr. Dope Nose, hopefully keeping that nose clean. Thanks for showing up here today. Don't want to be putting some stuff up there that's not supposed to be there. Eli McGinnis. Or McGinnis. Welcome, Eli. Thanks you could be here for being here today. Oh, let's see. Mr. Data Derivations is present, which I need to get back and read some more of that stuff from. You've got some amazing stuff, but life is too short. Not enough hours in the day. I need to bring in the crew on this. You know what? I'll bring in Rob and Greg and Tim and Gary on this. Make it a little bit more of a effort for the entire crew. Expose everybody to what you're showing us. Perfect. Mule Skinner. Welcome, Mule Skinner. Thanks for showing up here today. I appreciate you coming out as well. Wow, got a lot of people out there today. Oh, Jane on a journey. Elizondo. What do you think? Elizondo. What do I think? Well, you've got someone who has a deep passion for the United States and what the United States stands for. And he saw a lot of things going on behind the scenes, let's call it, by the deep state that was being held out, that he saw it as something that could be on the risk of 9/11 and Pearl Harbor combined, because people wanted to ignore what was really happening with the phenomena. So he left. He walked away from his retirement. He walked away from his job. He was living out of a travel trailer for a while when he was working with the guys over at TTSA and Tom DeLonge. So you've got someone who's very passionate for trying to bring this information out. He's teamed up with people like Christopher Mellon, other people in Congress. Like we've got Tim Burchett there. He's also been talking with a lot of other people behind the scenes to try and bring the truth of disclosure out. Even Avi Loeb are working together with him. So it's great to see all of them working as a big crew to fight for what? The fight for disclosure. So do I see a man who's trying to be doing the right thing, making the right choices? Not everybody does that completely, but we have to look at it that I think we've got a guy who really cares about the country, about humanity, and more importantly, about the ETs and bringing disclosure out because it's overdue. That's my take on it. I think that's everybody. In the meantime, let's go ahead and bring out the crew, shall we? Rob, Greg, welcome.
Right.
What do you think, Rob, about Elizondo? I know you've had a lot to say in the past and everything else, but a lot for some of the new people here and everything. What's your top line statement on him, or opening statement on Elizondo?
He took an oath of enlistment like I did to protect the American people and our Constitution and our sovereign territories. And he hit an impasse trying to fulfill that oath. And he sacrificed his career to continue that mission for the American people, sacrificing a tremendous amount, his retirement, his reputation, his job, all that. Because this was more important than himself. He stepped outside of himself and made a sacrifice for the good of the whole. And he served in combat. He knows what it's like to lose people on the battlefield. So it'd be disingenuous of him to not advance on a topic this important and ignore it to save his own career, as so many other top brass do and still do, to preserve their stars and their seat rather than doing what's right for the American people. And they're, it's a character issue. Lou is exhibiting the type of leadership and character you would want in a person, especially in a soldier, an officer. Some of these generals, like we've seen with Afghanistan this year, they're only interested in preserving their own reputations and livelihood, not the American people. So he's doing the best he can with what he has to work with. And I don't think he's going to stop pushing until this reaches a place where any good leader trains other people to be able to take their place. And he's trying to be redundant in training other people to do that. So at some point he can have a normal life back, because he's under the microscope right now. He doesn't have a normal life like the rest of us. They can't just get on air, for a couple hours a day and gone. He's living this 24/7 to its fruition to see it through, and he's not going to stop. Like you said, he'd run for Congress if he has to push this forward if it comes to that.
Yeah.
So I think he's, tremendously sincere.
Yeah. About Congress, sometimes there's the people who can be king, if you want to call it, or a person in political positions of ruling over government. I always call it being a king to a degree. And there's also people who can help people be a king. And I think what we're seeing right now is Elizondo and Mellon doing a tremendous job behind the scenes, helping the people who do have the reins of power getting in to try and take this out of control stagecoach and get it going in the right direction. Greg, what's your thought about Elizondo in your opening statement?
I want to hate the dude so bad, but I don't. I mean, I think he's done more for the disclosure and phenomenon in these last decade than the past 6 on by itself. But that being said, I don't think he truly is what he says he is. I think he is, trying to lead it in some sort of way, for the government's benefit. But I mean, I don't necessarily think that may be a bad thing, but I just think it's we've had enough, and I don't think the road to disclosure has to go through the government.
Yeah, And that's where LOEB comes in, where he's talking about taking the research and the information and the different ways for doing observation, looking at different methods of worldwide networks of observation that are available to us that Chris Mellon knows about, to be able to take those sources and be able to throw a new level of artificial intelligence observation and filtering on them, to be able to go ahead and start making the observations that maybe the government has, but taking that information and making it truly open and transparent, because that's one thing we have to do, is demand UAP transparency now. It's a transparency, it's a long word, but that's what we need. We need the openness. We need the availability for the results as they're coming in. To be, we've got the scientists and the physicists and everybody else and the mathematicians and even just professional, amateur, and everybody else looking at it. But we need those amateur professional observers that you have out there who make this a big portion of their life, open up the data to them, because a lot of times we've got people like Dutch Sense who's been looking at for how do you handle earthquake predictions, and he understands the patterns. He sees what's going on, and he's been reporting on it for years. And he goes against the USGS, which he likes to call the USBS, for a reason, because a lot of times there's data coming in, and they're going and changing the numbers around after they came in and trying to say, oh, it's not quite what you think it was. Always this level of data management that's only there in certain instances, that almost seems to be like that level of geologism, where they're trying to say this is the model things need to be in, and anything that's outside of this model doesn't apply. There's other people who are looking at catastrophism in other areas that are in that similar boat, where it's outside of the realm where some people want to see, but it's something to talk about, whether it's earthquakes or catastrophes. Some people are going to see this, or even UFOs. They're going to see it, and they're going to be in great fear. But the thing is to get the message out. These are things that are beyond our control. These are things that have been going on for thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of years. Is it something that we should be walking around and being afraid of on a regular basis? No, it just makes up what life is here on Earth. We go about our day. It's like when we had June 26th hit, and we had those 144 cases, and only one of them was explainable as a balloon. Did any of it, at that point, did it affect the markets? Did it affect the pulse of America? No, it didn't. And we need to look at that. But always, that's why I always say, and this is where I got from Ben Davidson over at Suspicious Observers, we have to have our eyes open and no fear. Because if we have fear, we cannot really look at something and assess it properly and react to it in a proper way, because fear consumes everything within us. And
what do you think the most thing is that people are afraid of the most about this? If it were to come true today, let's say ET was to come down and everything, what do you think the main fear would be? Like the fear of we're no longer the top of the food chain, or they've always been here, we didn't know it?
Invasion.
Of an invasion? Do you think that's the number one fear?
I think that's what it would be.
But what if they've been here all along, and we're actually the invasion, Rob?
What does invasion constitute? Let's distill this down to the core essence.
Yeah, people will be thinking Independence Day, War of the Worlds, so that kind of invasion.
It's fear-driven, not wanting to experience pain on any capacity that we have at the base of this anxiety and fear that we're pushing on. Mm-hmm. So however you want to quantify it from there, it all goes back to not wanting a negative experience with this, that could be, given the nature of their capabilities, could be tremendously catastrophic for the human race if they chose to be a threat, which, they've been here for thousands of years. And there's no reason to think that they would, all of a sudden decide now that it's time to eradicate humanity. I do think they're concerned with our nuclear assets, but I don't think they're concerned with us existing.
Yeah. Not to mention all of humanity has TV brain. You know what I mean? It's all going to come to them from the movies. That's where everybody gets their information from, right? The movies, it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, it could be a bad day.
It could be a bad day.
It could be a bad day, but for someone who's had insider information, as it's been reported, that what was going on, Have we seen any really nasty movies about this from Steven Spielberg, Gary?
War of the Worlds.
Oh, well, true. But the original movies he did, you know, E.T. and Close Encounters were about the good side. And didn't he also do the one called Cocoon?
Gremlins, Poltergeist.
Did he do Cocoon as well, Gary?
Sorry?
Did he do Cocoon as well?
Yes, he did Cocoon.
Yeah,
That was the
aliens
scariest
underwater,
Yeah.
light energy beings.
Who did
That's pretty
Revenge
cool.
of the Body Snatchers?
Oh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's an old one now. That was...
Yeah, that one was creepy as hell too.
No, no, no!
Yeah, I don't know if I saw the
Yeah,
sequel to Cocoon. If so, we're gonna have to watch that again, Gary. That was nice. Yes, E.T. is so cute, and that's why I even put him out there sometimes. It's a great thing. But you know, there's the Hollywood.
But who's not included is Spielberg as well, and that one's adorable.
Yeah, and we do have that
Right.
new horrible show from Apple called Invasion.
Ugh, God, friggin'
I swear, there's as much special effects in that show in the 8 or 9 episodes we've watched so far than what I've seen in the first episode of Lost in Space. Season 3 is a good one.
overhyped nonsense.
Yes, I know it is, but it's the hype that comes from Hollywood,
Apple.
Apple in this case, streaming media, but we're also looking at the influence we're going to be getting from social media, the Zuckerbergs, the Twitters, the Instagrams. That's where the point where we're getting to see the younger generations who are going to get the most exposure to it, the TikToks, the understanding of it. And either that's potentially the other area where we need to hit and start bringing this out and pushing the narrative in a way that's tailored towards them, which means we're going to have to get some younger people to get on camera here because they may be wanting to listen to 3 old white guys, maybe or maybe not, but it would just have to have a diversity in age and representation because this is something that we're raising the flags on. Linda's raising the flags on it. Jana's raising the flags on it. Rican is. Everybody is. But this is something that's not just in the U.S. This is something that's worldwide that we really need to, and that's what, get the message out there. That's why we've had these, pieces coming in from, how do you put it? From Elizondo, from Tim Burchett. Let's go ahead. Let me see if I can find the first video here from Tim Burchett that was on. Here we go. This one is from TMZ. Let's go ahead and jump across to the special video room.
Oh, can we watch that one again?
Let's wheel out the projector. Which one?
The one from TMZ with Tim Burchett again?
Oh, we're not going to watch that one. We've got a different one where Tim Burchett is actually on the stairs of the Capitol, walking down. So let's go ahead and make sure. I think audio should be kicked up all right. Let's make sure.
Behind Anjali.
Yes. No. Here we go, folks.
Sniffing her hair.
Congressman, I know they just had some dealings with the
1 second here. I can't hear it. And I don't want to blow up trying to make it so I can hear it. Here, give me 1 second. Because how can I go if I can't hear it? Oh, one little delay here. OBS output, 2 speakers, and I need to make on my 2 speakers that I should have QuickTime in here. Because it blew up before, and I accidentally deleted a QuickTime player. All right, I can hear this now. All right, here we go.
Congressman, I know they just had some dealings with the about the UFOs situation with I think Pentagon is going to be taking over. Yeah. I'm confused
hear
with
it,
that.
Thomas.
He's silent, Bob.
Well, you guys can't hear it in the back. Hold on, let me see which audio you guys are running with right now. You've got mic and sounds. Let me get MELLON composite audio devices. You guys can still hear me?
Yep.
All right, good. Now, one more time. Let me know if you guys can hear this now.
I know they just had some dealings with the about the UFOs situation with I think Pentagon is going to be taking over. Yeah. I'm confused with it, man. Help me here.
You're not the only one.
Well, first question out of the gate. Let's talk about the Pentagon taking over. Good way to put it. Now, I just got to ask the question. God, we need to get some streamers or some people who are actually close to Washington, D.C. and can get... Greg, is that you?
I'm like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, shit, man. We need to get you to start tracking some of these people down. But, yeah, you could even just be there with the phone where, I have to get your phone and a Bluetooth mic or something. You can get there and try and track these bastards down for us.
I totally thought about it. Yeah, it's like I could be there in like less than an hour and a half for sure. And that's
Well. Reporter on the scene, potentially. Greg, we'll have to talk about that one because I'm sure everyone here would. Because that's the thing, is the only way we're going to get comments from Gillibrand like this or from BURCHETT is to track them down on the staircase when they're going from one spot to the other. And it just comes down to, we need to understand. Oh, Jimmy M is there too. He could work with you.
Nice. Let's think of some questions.
Let's get some questions. Let's find out when their schedules are, when they're going to show up, and that's going to be the trick. When are they going from point A to point B?
I am too, Jimmy M.
Yeah. So you're both in Baltimore. How about that?
Nice, guys.
Nice. Let's continue this.
Pentagon, of course, is valiantly decided they're going to take over all the research on the UFO phenomena, but it's totally bogus. I mean,
valiantly take it over, and how does he describe it? Bogus, dude.
Totally bogus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you guys noticed the title card I had today, jump to that for a second.
I liked it.
Title card. If you notice, he's on his cell phone, looking down. BURCHETT's known to be on Twitter. So we've got someone, when we've heard him talking, it sounds like, man, this guy sounds like he's someone on UFO Twitter. Besides talking to Elizondo. I wouldn't doubt it. Greg, there's an email for you in the chat.
Just got it.
You got it? Cool.
Yep.
You may want to go ahead and, if you got that, Greg, Jimmy M, you may want to delete that from the chat. There we go.
Yeah.
they're just going to require more money from us, and they're going to keep it quiet. I don't trust.
More money from us, and they're going to keep it quiet, aka black budget stuff going on that we can't hear about, that Congress isn't having any more of with respect to this. Welcome, you Upstate UAP faction. And did I see Ancient History Criticisms is here as well?
Yeah, and Andrew's in the house.
Welcome, Andrew. I didn't pop up and say hi. I was focusing on things, but thanks for showing up, Andrew. We've got to do that show on the elongated heads, the elongated skulls from South America. That could be several shows. It doesn't have to be just one. And Brian Forrester, because if there's any other, physical evidence of potentially non-human intelligences that have been around for a while, that's one of them. There's a lot of cool stuff down in South America, and Brian Forrester is the man.
Isn't it funny how the Pope had a hat shaped like that also? It's like almost to hide his elongated skull.
Who's?
Isn't that what they said? The Pope?
Well, you had the Pope. You had the Wizards a long time ago that they supposedly had out there. And then you also had...
Coneheads. Remember Coneheads?
Some did use it to hide the shape of their head, but some also did it to emulate those with elongated heads, because all throughout history and every civilization they immersed themselves in, they were the ruling and priest castes in each society that they were involved with. So it was an indication of being highborn to have an elongated skull.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of civilizations wanted to try and emulate it and make their kids look like they had the larger skulls to make them think like they were, if you want to call it, gifted by the gods or part of the gods at that time. Let's go ahead and move on with this here.
I don't trust the Pentagon. I never have. They are secrets upon secrets, and that's how they operate.
I don't trust the Pentagon. I never have. See? He's got it.
Where's he been all my life?
No.
They're trained to be soldiers, not politicians and peacetime policymakers. All they are trained up on and focused on with their filter is war. So and with the defense contractors, if there's no war, there's no big bucks being made. So some of them are honest and some of them aren't, and it's hard to know the difference between the two at times.
And aren't they famous for funding both sides also?
Of a war and a conflict?
Correct.
Somewhat, yeah. there have been instances where both sides were backed, but I don't think intentionally with weapons and munitions and money and training.
Oh.
But I think that there are instances where they may have incited two different factions that they wanted to see go down, to pit them against each other.
Yeah.
Under the guise of taking both their sides, but neither one knowing that they were in on it with them.
Yeah. You know what we almost need on this? We need a town hall for UFOs. Let's get BURCHETT. Let's get what's her name? Let's get Gillibrand. Maybe a couple others. That other House representative from Indiana, who's one of the first people to speak out on it. And I know Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois also has spoken out on this. So let's get a good representative of different people from the House and the Senate. Make this a bipartisan conversation. Maybe Rubio in. Make it a big media event. Make it something that we're not going to have on a live stream. Let's get, CNN, or I can't believe I said that, CNN or Fox, or a combination of both. Even, look to other alternative stations like NTD, OAN, etc. And let's get a real town hall on this subject. We could even invite, I hate to say the word, Kamala Harris, but like she would actually show up or actually say anything. We could even invite Susan Go, who is the new Pentagon spokesperson, so they could actually have representative in this. Speaking of that, we've got another. Susan. Yeah, so having live streams and stuff about this is only going to go so far, but having something that's actually going to be on a major news element, something that's going to get broadcast in different places with some real production value, some real producers, not that you're not a producer, Gary, but some, big guns behind this. We need to elevate it beyond where it is. I don't know if we need to team up with Mr. Carlson or other people in this area, but it's something we need to bring forward in a forum that, what's important when there's a town hall on it. They've had town halls on a bunch of things, usually elections, politics. They've had about medical stuff that we all know about that's affecting us today. But again, what are the, let's keep on coming up with ideas and throwing it on the wall. So on that, let's go ahead. And yes, he is being kind of my kind of politician. And we need to get more of him. When I heard this, we need to get more politicians openly speaking on this and answering questions, poignant questions from people in the audience. It's necessary, even if it's a virtual town hall where we've got these people together, but it needs to get off of just YouTube. Although there's a lot of people on YouTube, we need to make this a major media spectacle that it demands. Let's move on with this.
Right, and we're foolish if we give them any more money to do this kind of thing. It needs to be independent. There needs to be congressional oversight, and there needs
independent congressional oversight. So it sounds like independent of the Department of Defense. That's you, Susan, and all your cronies. We need to make it more. Hello, Susan. Yes. Let's go back a little bit.
I love the accent. Foilish. I can't do it. Foilish.
Who?
I love the accent. Foilish. The way he says foolish is awesome.
Foolish? Yeah.
Foilish.
oversight, and the public needs to see it.
Right.
It doesn't need to be any double secret meetings.
Right.
The public needs to see it. There doesn't need to be any double secret meetings. Damn, this guy is saying the right things. You think he's running for public office or he's in public office? Wait a minute. He is.
Was finally getting to a
I thought
point
we
where
were
the public
too,
was
but I
gonna
think they yanked the rug out. They don't think we're prepared. They pulled the rug out from under us. I think the military-industrial complex and the rest of those clowns.
There you go, Greg.
Love it.
I mean, you've got something to say about this. I know you do.
No, yeah, you said earlier how I don't think anybody in the media of that caliber has said the words military-industrial complex, much less calling them clowns, since Eisenhower warned us back when in his exit speech.
Yeah, it's something that's needs to be brought to the people's minds and their eyes and everything. It gets better on this. Let's listen.
They fully know what they're doing, and they're going to keep it secret from us.
So it isn't a secret. They fully know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're trying to hide from us. It's an active tactic that they've got going, classifying everything that even shouldn't be top secret as a national security risk.
Is he using, you think he's especially doing a lot of this to keep in front of the media so that way? Because I fear for this guy's life in a weird sort of way. I mean, I'm not just saying that to be morbid, but I mean, here he is dishing out, the goods to everybody. Do you think it's purposely now him trying to get in front of as much media as possible to almost protect himself?
I don't think it's him reaching out to the media. I think it's either TMZ being the man on the spot, or TMZ said, "Hey, we want to interview you for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Can we talk to you about this?" In your walk. And so something was either an on the spot interview where they interrupt the guy, or it's something where they actually went and arranged it ahead of time. Either way, that's the guy to get to talk with, because man, he is saying the right things, and it's just a matter of getting more people on board with this. Where is the main news? Where is Fox? Where is CNN? Where is ABC, CBS, NBC, Rachel Madcow? Why aren't any of these people covering this? This is more prolific. This is more important than any social issue that's going on in our country right now. And it's like they're walking around with their eyes, their ears, and their mouths muzzled.
Just one last thing. Why is it like they don't want what is it they don't want the public to know?
That's a good question. I've got a theory about that. I think it's about control. They think once that they lose control of the issue, that could you imagine if this world was focused on one issue, looking at something like that, we could all come together on something.
We can all come together, focusing on one issue. Isn't that almost a mirroring, Rob, of what Reagan said a long time ago to the UN? What would it be if there was a risk and it brought all the countries on this planet together?
Yeah, what if we, as a world, faced one singular threat from outside and external of humanity that would bring us together and forget all of our differences for once and focus on the good of the whole?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think he's advancing this narrative that he's saying on the steps. If he didn't have the backing of a lot of powerful people to say what he did, he's not a singular person stating this opinion. He would have to be stating this with the backing of a committee, of a coalition group behind the scenes. He wouldn't advance this by himself.
Effectively by an organization who was fighting against the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, for control of misinformation. It's something I've been talking about for a while, because it's like you look at this and you say, wait a minute. On one hand, you got the military war machine on one side going ahead and trying to do doing their thing and trying to be in control of the whole UAP phenomenon and everything that's going on. But on the other side of the fence, you've got this group of individuals from the government themselves working with, from the legislative side, it seems, who are fighting now the deep state, two parts of our government fighting for control of the situation. This could really get messy if Congress realizes, hey, we've got them by the balls. They actually work for us, and we're going to force them to bring forward this stuff. And maybe we can get into some congressional hearings, and if the information of what is getting brought forward is strong enough, maybe we can get into McCarthy-style witch hunts to look for the people that's when they were looking for the communists. We're not looking for the communists. We're looking for the people in the deep state who have been taking this and subverting this whole topic against the people and against the government itself for their own benefit versus the benefits of the citizens and humanity as a whole. Let's listen a bit.
I think that would just disrupt the whole military-industrial complex, the religious-industrial complex, on down.
The religious industrial complex.
Well, that's the first time I heard that before.
That ties into what Lou was talking about earlier, a while ago, saying that there are people in the Pentagon, religiously affiliated, who are classifying this demons and trying to shut this stuff down. Oh, you got the music run up there, Gary?
What?
Can you throw up the music?
No. All right, hang on. Oh, God. There you go. Also, Thomas, I just want to point out, I tried to say it while you were doing it, but talking with your mouth full is very rude, and I'd be a bad British person if I didn't tell you that. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. I'll try not to do that. I'll put my head off camera. I'll turn myself off for a second. I'll put you in my place. How about that? Yes, Susan goes time-traveling Asians. Who are the deep state? The military-industrial complex elites. Who is the religious military-industrial complex elites? I think, Greg, give us an insight coming from your side. You've been talking about this for a while, trying to get us to go ahead and watch this. What's the show on Netflix we all need to go and watch?
Yeah, if you have time, definitely. It's called The Family on Netflix. And there happened to be one gentleman throughout history who was pushing Jesus through the United States government. And his name was Doug Coe, and his last name is spelled C-O-E. And they was called The Family, and he never ever liked to be in the spotlight. I mean, this is probably the first time you've heard his name, right? It's the first time I ever heard his name when I saw the program. But yet he was a big, huge player behind all this. And they also have a house or a home, I believe it's still there, on C Street in Washington D.C. So check it out. It's The Family on Netflix. Yeah. And another thing too, Doug Coe died in 2017, the same year the New York Times article came out. Coincidence? Maybe.
Yeah. Interesting supposition for us all to check into. It's something that Anthony Bragalia, Tony, if you're watching this, I'll send you an email on it as well. What is the tie with Coe? Is he part of this religious military-industrial complex? The people who are in the Pentagon who kicked out James Lukatsky and ruined the guy's career? Would be interesting to know. It's something that we need to get into and figure out. But I know someone who definitely has a good idea who's behind Susan Go, who are the people that are, if you want to call it, commanding the silencing of ufology. That's Lou Elizondo. Let's get Lou in front of Congress and have the questions asked of him and get him to reveal the names, because I know Tony has been on the trail of these people for a while, and it'll be interesting to see if Tony can bring shedding some light himself, or even get Lou open up on this, because people know who these people are, and it's a matter of if they are within the military and they are acting this way. Military is funded by the public, by the people, and you know what? If they're saying this needs to be locked up, this information needs to be tucked away, and they're signing their name on it, that should give us a right to know who these people are. What do you think, Rob?
Well, he's indicated it was the Office of the Undersecretary who's going to be put in charge of this committee with this new group that the DOD implemented. And he said that's exactly the group that's been suppressing him and other attempts to bring this to the light of day. So we'll know who the players are on either side by watching their actions, not so much their words. The fruit of their labor will bear them out.
Yeah.
As to who's with us and who's not.
Yeah.
But they may have erroneous intentions, trying to act out of by filtering it through their faith to make decisions that should be secular, not religious.
I agree. Jimmy M brings up a good topic. Listen to David Adair's speech. Which one, Jimmy? I'm sure a link to us, and we'll check it out, because I know David Adair is another person who like Bob Lazar was involved with stuff going on in Area 51, and very smart gentleman. Intelligent doesn't even sum up how smart this guy is. So definitely want to check that out. What else are we hearing from the chat right now? It would be nice to see Thomas. Be nice, Thomas, but I don't ever see it happening. We're living in a time with very corrupt politicians. Yeah, Mule Skinner, but I think we've got people who are stepping out right now and trying to make their voice heard. And the more people you can get to stand behind him and Senator Gillibrand, the more opportunity we're going to have to actually make a difference on this stuff. Anything else? There's no screaming in the concept of space. I think some people in charge might be the descendant of the Nephilim, Anunnaki, star people, demonic entities. You never know. Hey, we could be. Because you always think about, where's the missing link? Where's the missing link? Maybe there isn't one on this planet. Maybe it's something that was brought in, and then actually, what is the missing link? That'd be so great. What else do we have? All the ties back to what happened with James Forrestal, in my opinion. That's when the deep state stuff took over. Maybe. You never know. Good thing brought forward, Eli. Now,
and
with
he
that,
said he was going to bring forth disclosure basically on the UFO files and unmask the deep state. Well, he didn't call it that at the time, but the secret organizations, the alphabet agencies and things that were gaining too much control, and we see where that got him.
yeah, I hear you completely. It's one of those things that never quite sure exactly where it is and where it could potentially go to. Let's go ahead and continue this. Moving along.
It would just disrupt that whole chain, and they don't want it. They don't want it. They want control. They want secrets. They want it compartmentalized. I mean, they won't even release it, the Kennedy files. And
there you go. He just brought up the other freaking elephant in the room. They won't even release the Kennedy files. Gee, I wonder what they're hiding and what it makes us look like in those agencies. That would almost bring like a hell hath no fury against the CIA, the FBI, or who knows which other organizations in the Kennedy situation.
Too good to be true.
I know. Let's just hope he doesn't have a sudden heart attack or commit suicide or something
or
in the usual.
Wreck.
Yeah.
Or accidentally cut his head off whilst shaving.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
it's alive after that. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
It's going to come out soon, man. Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you.
What was great was Tim kept on talking and talked over Tim because he had more things that he wanted to say. So it's kind of like he just covered the whole ball of wax, one to the next, which kind of shows that he's ready for these interviews. He's just running with the situation of how he believes, how he feels, and more importantly, where he sees this stuff going to. Amazing, to say the least.
Well, in committees, he's got 3 minutes to express his opinion. So he's rehearsed this line, but I think it was also for what he was giving in a behind closed doors in committees, making his case. I think that's why he was so lockstepped in on on a total concept of opinion that he had prepared.
Yeah,
this happened. I think this is an ongoing topic that's being fought out since June 25th.
Yes, absolutely. For our next video piece, we're going to go ahead and listen to Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby, who's going to go ahead and answer a question regarding the AOI MSG, and brings in to question and everything with regards to believable or not believable or covering things up, because let's jump across and watch this one next.
Travis. Thanks, John. I wanted to ask you about this new UAP office that was created by Deputy Secretary Hicks and announced last week. The Aerial Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. Was there it's a mouthful. Was there any coordination with lawmakers on Capitol Hill? They're proposing related legislation like Representative Gallego and Senator Gillibrand. And secondly, some former Pentagon officials who had worked.
Actually, Representative Gallego was the first one who actually got the initial amendment put into the Defense Authorization Act. So realistically, we have Representative Gallego, who was actually up in a Navy plane and listened in on what was going on with the Tic Tac situation, I believe, back when it happened in 2000 and I think in 2004. So
does
now
he represent Hawaii? Am I not? Is that who I'm thinking of? The,
I think he's from Arizona.
Arizona, okay.
Yeah.
On this issue, Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo have said that this is an effort for the Pentagon to be less transparent on UAPs. And I was just wondering if you had any response to that.
Saying the names that they don't want to hear about. Let's look at the expression on his face as he talks about this. Hey, Chad, thanks for showing up. I appreciate you being here today. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on here.
First one, I can't speak to pending legislation. Obviously, I'd refer to those members, but we absolutely kept members of Congress informed as we fashioned this group together. And
really, which representatives of Congress were cued in? Because it sounds like some of them who were cued in, maybe Representative Burchett was cued in, and he didn't like what he was hearing. Maybe they were giving feedback on this, trying to tell the Pentagon what we wanted, and the Pentagon just says, no, this is what we're doing.
Announced it. And it is, to your second question, it is really designed to help us better coordinate the reporting processes, the actual reports themselves, and the analysis of those reports, so that rather than getting them sort of piecemeal and ad hoc as we've been getting them from the services. This is a way to coordinate the input so that we can, there's a common set of parameters for how to report them and to analyze them and then to assess what we've got. And not all reports are going to manifest themselves in something that we consider a national security threat.
Really? Then why is all the information we have going all the way back 70 plus years not released and opened up for the public consumption at this point in time? Why is everything that's getting requested through the office of Susan Go being classified as a national security threat, John? I mean, that's kind of, you have to look at the situation, you have to ask, and it's like, we're hearing this. We're hearing that not everything is going to be that, but why is everything up until today being put underneath that umbrella? So it's conflicting statements of what they're saying here, talking around it, trying to say, oh, it's going to be better. But if it's not in writing that it's going to be better, we're not going to hear it.
Who are the services he was talking about? Was he talking about, I guess, the industrial complex? Because remember, he didn't come out and say it. Was he talking about the armed services?
Let me listen. How far back was that?
25 seconds.
Let's go back.
As we fashioned this group together and announced it. And it is, to your second question, it is really designed to help us better coordinate the reporting processes.
No, but here's the thing. There were new recording and reporting processes that were put in place in 2019 by the Navy. And that is the new standard of what's going on. So now they have to improve what's going on from what they had there. I guess they could. But if they just follow what they have and enforce people like, what do you call it? The Air Force, who's been keeping their mouth shut on all this, to actually start bringing this out, especially stuff going back 70 years, Mr. Air Force General, wherever you are out there, we're looking for you. We're going to find you, and we're going to start asking you the tough questions. Why aren't you letting this information out? What's the big secret? What are you holding back from the public?
The actual reports themselves and the analysis of those reports, so that rather than getting them sort of piecemeal and ad hoc as we've been getting them from the services, this is a way to coordinate the.
Yeah.
What services does he speak of? He's talking about getting reports that, like here and there from the services. What services? The like the Raytheons of the world?
Well, services would be the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the Space Force. Those are the services.
Alphabet agencies.
Yeah. CIA, the Clowns in America, the Federal Bureau of Idiots, you know, all the ones out there who are trying to go ahead and grab this information and bring it forward.
10-4.
Or not bring it forward.
Yeah, really.
But getting it ad hoc, maybe this is a new required reporting.
The input so that we can, there's a common set of parameters for how to report them and to analyze them and then to assess what we've got and not.
We've got, but then again, that was established in 2019.
This streamlined procedure was implemented with the after 9/11 with Homeland Security to not be getting piecemeal ad hoc and one organization not talk to the other. This vehicle has already been in place since 2005, whenever the NSA was and Homeland Security was established. So this pipeline's already in place. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's just not using it.
Sorry, he's just got a facial expression I had to go ahead and pop up and give him a hard time. All right, let's move on.
All reports are going to manifest themselves in something that we consider a national security threat. So this is a chance for us to be a much more organized in the way we process these reports.
Is it organized? Well, again, is it in enforcing it is more of the key? Because like Rob just said, this has all been in place. I guess he could be kind of reminding you of Al Bundy. That's a good observation.
Yeah, he does.
You know, if you put a filter on him stuff, Al Bundy or even like a Simpsons character could handle him pretty well.
And as we will certainly continue to be as transparent as we can about these phenomena and the impact that they may or may not be having on our ability to operate.
So we're going to talk about it and try to be transparent. How? Susan is going to start letting some information out. Come on, Susan. You're hearing it from your co-spokesperson because, you know, you're a spokesperson for the Pentagon, too. Where are your news conferences, baby? We'd like to see them.
Some data or information on these to the public at some point? Something beyond
Sure, get this back a little bit better.
A specific commitment to release some data or information on these to the public at some point? Something beyond a briefing to Congress or closed door?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Good question. Is there going to be something to have transparent and make the information available to the public? Now, everyone in the audience, we watched this last night, is going to love the reply to this one.
Have a specific report to announce today that, you know, on any kind of a frequent basis that we would do, but I can assure you that.
Get back in there again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific report to announce today that, you know, on any kind of a frequent basis that we would do, but I can assure you that our intention is to be as transparent about this phenomena as we can. Again, Travis, understanding that there'll be national security considerations that we have.
There you go.
If it doesn't exist, what is there to have to consider? If there's no legitimacy to the phenomena, then why is he saying that it needs to be kept under the guise of national security? Yeah,
I know, but I'm not sure who the reporter is. We can go ahead and find out. Someone who's asking the right question. But this is the line for Susan Go.
This phenomena as we can. Again, Travis, understanding that there'll be national security considerations that we have to keep in mind, but we'll be.
It's a get out of jail free card, if you ask me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I understand there is, some respect to that, but I mean, they can just throw anything behind that law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Transparent as we can, but not. I don't want to leave you with the impression that there'll be sort of a regular drumbeat of some kind of report that gets posted on the website, every couple months. Yeah.
There you go. So it's not like we're going to go ahead and on a regular basis go ahead and give a report like a regular drumbeat to people to let them know what's going on. Here's an update, here's an update, here's an update, here's an update. They're going to leave it through the existing FOIA process that they're going to classify everything under national security concerns, even if it doesn't need to be top secret or not. It's all as it has been. So we heard a lot of talk about it, what it potentially could be, and a lot of hope setting. At the end, fucking pulling the plug on it and saying, well, we're not going to tell you anything because it's a national security concern.
Right.
Typical Pentagon.
And if you want any information, you got to go to it instead of, instead of having a conference, it says they're going to post it on the website and be like, good luck, finding it probably. And then also, like I said, they're not going to push it. They're just going to have to make people. And if you don't know about it, you're not going to know to look on the website and find out the information in the first place.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to, get out information, if you ask me.
It's not.
Completely opposite of what the congressional bill is advancing to provide to the American people and to Congress as a whole. So I think there's been some concessions in the background to establish this DOD group and try and scuttle the one in Congress.
Yeah.
Seeing who's voting against it might give us an indication of who's backing the DOD initiative. That would be something we need to look into to see who's going against that bill or trying to get it removed from the budget. That would be even more telling, is to see if they're trying to get it kicked.
Yeah.
Cut costs in the budget, and if it gets cut and slashed, who did that?
Yeah.
Great point, man.
As we head back into the video room one more time, we've got a clip here going on. It's a news story from about 2 days ago. We'll get posted on the site later today that they're actually, for once, covering the Gillibrand Amendment and what it means in a news studio setting. So let's take a watch on this one. We're just trying to catch everybody up with all the kind of conversation, what's going on, and it's turning out to be a great Saturday for this.
Amen.
Lawmakers are busy hammering out a deal tonight to pass the National Defense Authorization Act. It includes a proposed amendment to get to the bottom of the curious things our military members say they're seeing in the sky. This is after a report released last summer concluded nearly every recently reported sighting of what's termed unexplained aerial phenomena, or what we used to call UFOs, could not be fully explained. Congress and others are taking an interest. Steve Dunn explains.
Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
The Pentagon says it does not know what that thing is. It's seen in one of 3 official.
Do you believe that they don't know what that thing is? I think they've got a good idea what the heck that thing is, and they just don't want to tell us for national security concerns.
There's that wall.
Oh, yeah. There's that line. There's that cop-out.
Released Navy videos of unexplained aerial phenomena, or UAP, the government's term for UFO. Whatever you call it, claims of sightings have long carried a stigma. But in 2021, in military, government, and some academic circles, that stigma is fading.
We're not sure that they're flying objects. Maybe there are, phenomenon that we're seeing that we just have not been able to detect before.
Scott Fisher is a faculty member of the University of Oregon's physics department and director of the Pine Mountain Observatory. He says
Okay, right there. This is the kind of stuff Ted was talking about. That with the military report, although with the UFO report, although we didn't get a lot of information, it's opening the door. Or like we saw last night with defense contractors being able to talk about it. Now we have more academics in physics departments at universities across the world who's able to start talking about it. So again, we're like, where is it? Where's the stuff? And it's like, we've got a few pieces of information here, and there's not a lot into it. That little bit that was in there is enough to get people like this guy talking. Let's shut myself up and continue.
Is full of things waiting to be found, studied, and explained, and technological advancements are opening our eyes.
I believe that our technology drives the science in some way. So as we have a new generation of cameras and radar systems and things like that, that new technology opens up new vistas for us. And so these may be phenomenon that have been there all along, but we have the technology to detect them.
There's certainly something being detected on Capitol
They talked about
Hill,
that a lot,
some
right?
lawmakers.
On which, sorry?
They talked about that a lot. Like if they don't have they wait for the technology to catch up, right? They shelf it, right, and come back to it in like 10 years to see if technology or science have caught up.
See if we've caught up far enough to go ahead and figure out what this thing is. If we can try and get that, yeah, they've talked about that. There's been speculation on that for many people, and that's what the United States has been taking. Now there has been advances in material science where we can actually get down to the molecular level and start looking at, well, they've got layers of this stuff, what, an atom thick of all these different materials, and that's what makes this stuff so resilient. They're starting to understand what it is. They know that these things are made out of isotopes. They're to assemble the elements. They're not actually made from the elements themselves, which is a completely different level of construction that we don't understand as well. So we're getting the idea of what some of this stuff is, but how to get there, that's the question they don't understand. Lewis said, we understand the physics. We don't have the knowledge to recreate it and to make it happen. That's where we've got people like Thor from, where is he from again? From UAPtheory.com. I recommend everybody to go check it out because his observations of what him and his team came up with, and when they took that a minute 43 sequence from the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico incident of a UAP that was about the size of a football, running circles around the airport and then going back out to sea again. They've got the idea of the gravitational fields and what's going on and the lensing and the observations that have pretty much taken hold of everyone's potential understanding of what we're dealing with, and more importantly, what the ETs have under their control.
Taking UAP reports seriously. A bipartisan...
Did you want to say something, Rob?
Yeah, can we delete a comment from Ralph G? Because I asked him not to speak on a certain topic anymore and bringing it up still. It needs to be discussed elsewhere.
Yeah, let's leave topics like racism and different things going in the United States out of the channel. That's something that we kind of do timer outs on. So, ack, timed you out for 300 seconds. It's just we have to keep it clean and everything else to that extent. And
I had just written that out a couple minutes ago to take that discussion elsewhere because it could pull us a strike. And then he left that comment that wasn't cool.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We try to have a clean chat room, respectful of our other people within the chat room and people on the panel and the channel itself. Thanks for bringing that up, Rob. You did the right thing.
If it's an innocent conversation, the algorithms could still strike us on it, and it makes people uncomfortable on top of that. So
yeah, and that also, if we can delete any of those comments, make sure they're deleted out in the chat going a little bit further back. That kind of stuff is actually picked up by the AI algorithms, and some of that stuff actually gets in there, and it goes ahead and takes the live stream and makes it where and it has to be manually watched for what the AI is picking up. And it looks like we've got another super chat came in, Gary. All right, we got a super chat came in from Mr. Catfish 2100, the guy who's got the matching picture that matches the whatever the hell it is growing on my neck. We'll have to figure out eventually. To all real experiencers, cheers. Well, cheers back at you, Mr. Catfish 2100. We're glad we can go ahead and put a smile on your face and give you a great place to come out and actually, to talk about the subject and feel safe about it, because that's what we're about. Disclosure, what's going out there, a great conversation on it, how to collaborate, and how to stay out of those messy topics sometimes that can spin out of control. Granted, sometimes we may have some other conversations that get a little astray sometimes over on Late Night Update, but for the most part, we even stay out of that R word and everything else and the unnecessary conflicts we've got out there. But I want to thank Mr. Catfish 2100 again for this chat. Phenomenal. Yeah, Discord is fine. Yeah, it doesn't have the oversight algorithms like here. That is actually true. But they can get reported, and Discord channels can get taken down. And sometimes when they do get taken down, the accounts that are associated with that channel are also banned. So it's better to keep it clean everywhere. All right, let's continue on with this story, shall we?
Amendment proposed in the National Defense Authorization Act would create a permanent office to collect and investigate data on the phenomenon across the military, intelligence, and civilian communities. It would also require the Pentagon to provide regular reports to Congress and, more importantly, to the public.
And there's that heartbeat thing, that regular beat of information that Congress is asking for. You just heard the DOD saying, we're not going to do that. This is where the Defense Authorization Act puts on the good old thumb screws and gets them there. You know, and actually, I do have a top 10 list of the best torture methods out there. So that'll be on the next list. I thought you were about
to say you have thumb screws.
No, that's actually number 10. Number 9 or number 10 is thumb screws. So glad they brought it up. So I brought it up.
Yeah. Particularly when it comes to sightings reported by Navy and Air Force pilots. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand co-sponsored that amendment with fellow Senate Intelligence Committee member Marco Rubio, among others. She says this is urgent, regardless of the origins of UAP, and recently told Politico, quote, if it is technologically possessed by adversaries or any other entity, we need to know. Burying our heads in the sand is neither a strategy nor an acceptable approach.
There you go. That's the situation. Burying our heads in the sand about it is why Lou left the Pentagon in the first place.
I smell a presidential candidate.
Gillibrand?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. We'll see. I'm actually liking Tim Burchett better.
Yeah, could you imagine that dude? Wow.
Yeah. But, you know, powerful leaders in Congress have the opportunity to do things that sometimes a president's going to need a president's signature on in the end of it. But in order to get to that point, unless you're doing an executive order, we're making the right steps.
Now you have it being a much more acceptable thing to talk about UAPs, UFOs, because we're talking about it not in the context of aliens. We're talking about it in the context of, are these things happening by our adversaries and rivals that we can't explain? Or are they environmental phenomena that we have to be aware of because of some other sort of less insidious, perhaps, but equally concerning, greater, longer-term challenge it poses to the way we do things here on Earth?
The Washington Post's Karen Demersion credits former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid for sharing his concerns with Capitol Hill colleagues years ago. His effort to...
Harry is someone we are working to try and get on this channel because, honestly, if anyone we could say and point our finger at anybody and say, you are the man who really got a lot of the momentum and got the DOD even working in some proper methods. He's the one who went and behind the scenes got OSAP going, which in the same time got ATIP going. You know, it's the things that are important like that. It's people who have actually made a difference. You know, Harry Reid, whether he likes it or not, is going to go down in history. Is the man who's gone and actually made a lot of this stuff a reality. And for that, I am so grateful for what he's done.
This was his side project. Even his staff advised him not to take on.
Yeah.
But yet it's probably what's going to define his career.
Yeah, absolutely. An unbelievable individual that deserves the thanks, the gratitude, and the platform to go ahead and reach out.
If Harry Reid was 30 years younger, do you think he still would have done it?
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Would he have done? Would he be if he was 30 years younger and he was in his role in the Senate? Oh yeah, he would absolutely do it. And it's great to see, though, even though he's out, he's still standing up for the work that he did and the belief that he had in this stuff. Let's just hope when his former chief of staff, who accidentally died in a car accident, hopefully that wasn't a behind the scenes scene warning to Harry saying, "Are you sure you want to keep talking about this?" You never know.
On a different program to study military encounters with the unexplained laid the groundwork for where we are today. Demersion reported last month U.S. defense officials announced the creation of their own office to catalog and track reports and data from UAP sightings. That happened just a few weeks after the Gillibrand-Rubio proposal landed in the NDAA.
We just know that there is this very long acronymed group now that is in the intelligence division with the Pentagon that is going to be looking at this. Exactly what they will do is going to be a subject of probably a lot of scrutiny and a lot of tug of wars between the Pentagon and Capitol Hill.
The office is called the
Really quick, Arlene Atkinzel, this is an important one and something I'll actually do a show for Late Night Update, or even we could talk about it in Disclosure tonight. So there are new Google terms and conditions. I saw the update button to go ahead and read it. I did not. They're not going to give a list of acceptable words, but the consequences of discussing or sharing the wrong things is a deleted Google account. So they're going and upping their handling of the situation. Yes, we've got another super chat that came in, Gary. We got Rican Havoc speaking out on this, and I agree with you completely, Rican, that we need to get credible experiencers to come together as one, put all our evidence into one project. It'd be a huge move in moving disclosure forward. Yes, I hear where you're coming about, Rican. That would be equivalent to going and having our own database of different information, trying to find the correlations and bring it all together. If there is one person who could really go ahead and has a lot of information and a lot of knowledge on this, that has already been working in this area, is Mr. Grant Cameron himself. We've had him here on the channel, but that could be a great conversation to reach out to him and bring him back again to see how something like this could be taken to the next level and what he thinks about it. Grant has been heavily involved in experiencers, documenting what's going on, seeing that there's a pattern of things happening with multiple experiencers, not just in the United States and around the world. So Rican, freaking awesome topic, awesome idea. I support it completely. Let's talk. Let's see if we can find a way to go ahead and take something like this and take it out of just being a conversation and turning into something that's more of a reality. Let's go ahead and, yes, Grant is awesome. I agree completely. Let's move on in this video.
object identification.
And a lot of tug of wars between the Pentagon and Capitol Hill.
The office is called the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. I don't know where they came up with that name.
Critics like Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee say the DOD's new office is just a move.
Well, that explains where he's from, Tennessee. Where's Harry Reid from? Is he from Tennessee?
Tennessee or Kentucky, one of the two.
Yeah, I think he's from Kentucky. Yeah. Or that's Mitch McConnell. From we'll figure that one out.
That's a good impersonation.
Well, knowing Mitch, you just got to kind of, pull your neck back a little bit and talk a little slow and act like you don't have a neck and you're like a turtle.
I'm impressed.
Thanks.
And data locked away.
It is really designed to help us better coordinate the reporting processes, the actual reports themselves, and the analysis of those reports.
Pentagon spokesman John Kirby agrees this is an issue of national security, but he says that means the Pentagon either can't or won't release everything it knows.
I can assure you that our intention is to be as transparent about this phenomena as we can.
However, that commitment to transparency is exactly what former Defense Department insiders say the Gillibrand Amendment would provide on an issue that, for more than 70 years, has been shrouded in secrecy at the highest levels and mocked at lower ones. There's also something else that could shift the conversation dramatically. The amendment would require the new UAP investigative office to share the information and data it collects with a select group of scientists and experts outside of the government.
The military.
There we go. That's where it needs to go. Requiring them. They don't have a choice in it to go ahead and share it. This bullshit expression coming from Susan Goff that everything is a national security concern. We can't release it. That needs to be scrubbed.
Got it. That's been classified for many years, and it's the opening.
We're saying something wrong.
I was going to say, if there's nothing to the phenomena, and it doesn't actually fall into the category 5 according to the June 25th report, they wouldn't be saying that, well, we're going to do what we can according to national security, but we have a threat interest that we have to mitigate. And the language that they put in there that still bothers me is that in the DoD initiative is that they can do threat mitigation. That's saying that if they need to, they're going to take steps to protect our assets, which is it opened door to taking offensive action or offensive defense, as you might say. They're escalating this, and nothing like a good war brings in money for the DoD and the military industrial.
Hey, the defense contractors are already putting up their hands saying, hey, we recognize this stuff. Come on, work for us.
They're hiring, yep.
Yeah.
It seems they may be trying to pick a fight just because they want funded.
Yeah, I hear you.
Scientists and experts outside of the government.
The military data, that's been classified for many years. And it's the opening of that, sort of database that the scientific community will now have access to. That's the game changer.
That, Scott Fisher says, is the first step toward finding a scientific explanation to the unexplained.
And the real neat thing about this time is that the release of the data is going to help add legitimacy to the study of UAP. It's going to be more difficult for this to immediately be sort of a, oh, ha, ha, ha situation, aliens.
And for more information on this issue and a look at the Senate Amendment 4810, look for this story on our website at katu.com.
Yeah, so there we go. There's our next piece that we've got up today, and it's, interesting news. We've got, for once, a realistic story covering this from the perspective, like as if the producers are actually paying attention, listening to what's happening on UFO Twitter, and actually trying to go ahead and bring forward the truth. Not just saying, hey, look, they've got this new UAP office coming from the DoD. Isn't it great? Because they're just reading the press release. They haven't done the research to understand where it is, but you can hear almost the influence of Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and all the other people involved on UFO Twitter, involved on YouTube, who are actually trying to make a difference and get this stuff out there. It's an important place to be at this point in time.
What they've done is uncovered the silos that went rogue investigating this, that did know it was legitimate, and brought it to the attention of all the other silos and Congress as a whole that did not previously know that the phenomena was real. It was still National Enquirer birdcage fodder until Lou and Mellon brought this to the forefront and established that it's real and it's not human. They've, by the virtue of what they're saying now, they've decided with the DoD that this is not human technology, and we've got to handle it, and we'll let you know if there's anything we can share with the public. They, by default, given a degree of disclosure in their language that they're speaking now.
Which brings me up is where's the rest of the world at on this? I mean, this is like one of the biggest paradigms, like Lou said, since we came out of the cave, but yet you ask 10 people, and maybe 1 out of 10 every now and then might know something about it. Or they might have heard something on the news.
All the news is being filtered in the United States. Sometimes I log into European servers and around the world because Israeli intelligence and all them, and Italy, there's a lot of Japan. A lot of them are being forthright with their information, but they're also advancing U.S. information in their countries and in Europe and other places, but that isn't being advanced in our own media. But it's a thriving topic at the forefront within theirs. So our media is being controlled. We're being spoon-fed the agenda they want us to see. We have to step outside of our media sources outside of the United States to get an accurate picture of what we're encountering.
Yeah. But still, the media did still, mention it after all. There are UAPs and we don't know what they are. To me, that's good. That's better than, anything out there so far.
Yeah.
But they still talk about it, but it's just the American people aren't listening.
I think part of it is we got to be louder. Lord Bass is saying that. And that's one thing we've been saying is we need to get louder on do we need a lobby? Maybe for a lobby, we need a building with money.
COVID
things can happen.
Else, getting people's attention of competing for their attention. There's too many other variables out there that are detracting from this conversation.
Yeah.
That I think part is in by design, that they are intentionally rolling out UAP dialogue that coincides with other topics that are more hot in people's minds.
Yeah.
In the media.
It's like we almost need a national disclosure day or a national UFO day or something to the extent to go ahead, and actually not national, but worldwide, to go ahead and something where we can on a regular basis bring it forward and bring people's attention to it, whether it's organized meetings or people organized meetings and marching in the streets. We still need to go ahead and get that out there. And that's where, yes, even though CNN still gets 6 million views per night, it's a place where, you know, we need to work with them, whether we like them or not. We need to get them involved. We need to get Fox involved. We need to get the major networks involved and get coverage on this. We need to have that, I've mentioned before that, town hall meeting with people from Congress, people maybe from the scientific community like Avi Loeb, maybe have Chris Mellon there and Elizondo and some representatives from the government. Let's take this and make it big and get your regular people, regular individuals representing the people of in the community who are interested with it, to get the right kinds of questions that can go ahead and make Lou say, wow, that's a really good question. Let me think about that. Which he does a bunch of times, but it's a good question. Yes, we need to demand disclosure now and make it loud. I hear you completely. Yes, we need Watergate-style hearings. I'd even go a step farther. I've been saying we need McCarthy-style hearings to deal with the deep state and what's going on. It's like, oh my God, McCarthy, that was like crazy. Yeah, but, you know, whether it's Linda saying we need Watergate-style, we need something serious that's got some bite behind it. And more importantly, there's consequences coming out of it. Yes, Data Derivation's World UFO Day. You know, we would like UAP, but UAP is just a topic right now that a lot of people don't know. Everybody knows what a UFO is, so it's finding the right terms to get the majority of the people involved as we possibly can.
Do you think consequences is the right way to go? Do you think maybe it'd be a little bit more easier to have this come forward a little bit faster, even say if the people were involved remain nameless?
Well, it could start where they're going to start to have hearings. And if it doesn't go to that level, then you have the hearings with consequences. Start small, get the movement going, and then open the floodgates and deal with it. I think it's something that's necessary. Consequences, if they've been doing this, if they've been doing things to harm the public of the United States, potentially harm these human intelligence, all for military weapons and gain, I think there's some, and they're doing it under the guise of national security. I think there's a great need for consequences of what's been going on and what's been pulled, and if you want to call it the wool that's been pulled over humanity's eyes, that they think is necessary. But in the end, it's going to show that they were doing much more damage than good.
Yeah, for their own well-being at that.
Yeah. So I do have one more piece if we want to see it. We've got Avi Loeb kind of speaking out on the importance of Project Galileo that we can go ahead and check out and comment on as it's going through, because I don't want to get... Do I have the text on there? Let's go ahead and go to Video Studio 2 Guests, and I have to find the fair use text. There we go.
I heard somebody told me one day that Avi worked for the Mossad.
I wouldn't think about that.
Yeah,
that's kind of way out there.
Mossad, we'd never know it. That's like somebody working for the CIA. They're the tip of the spear of Israeli underground intelligence.
Yeah, I heard that pretty badass.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in note, let's go ahead and check out the story from Avi Loeb that was from Webley, I believe.
Let's go beyond the headlines.
Or Newsy.
Let's go deeper on UFO reports. Joining me to discuss this is a noted astrophysicist and professor of science at Harvard University.
This one is a bit quieter than it should be. Let me go ahead and just take this for the audience and pump this volume level up a little bit.
And I'm going to steal real quick before you play this. I'm going to steal a page from Tim's book. Would you trust Avi Loeb if he didn't have his accent?
I would.
I thought that was a great point.
Well, a lot of people...
No, I find European accents sus. I really find them sus. I don't know whether it's a British
What's
thing
sus?
or not.
What do you mean sussed?
Sus. Suspicious.
Yeah, well, potentially. Especially German.
Definitely German. It's
But
built into us British
the
people.
thing is, you just have to understand, you can't have a bias against someone specifically because they have an accent. If that, you could say, well, I don't like people coming from the South because they got a twang to their voice. Well, it's all right. I've dealt with people who've talked like that in the past. I've watched characters on cartoons who talks like that. But the thing is, you can't take a person because how they're talking, how they're inflecting their language, the exact words that they're using, because they could have a different cultural background, whether that's from Southeast Asia, from Russia, from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, or for that matter, the United Kingdom, South America, anywhere, Africa. You know, we have to get past that and listen to more of what they're saying and less thinking about how they're saying it.
I'm just saying on the fact that it seems like more common on it. I think if it was more of American accent, I think a big more percent would be like more suspicious of them. It's just
it lends emphasis when for some reason we always equate in the United States that accent with more of an intellectual conversation.
Yes,
especially when it's coming from an intellectual.
Right.
Yeah,
people usually say when people speak with a United Kingdom accent, it sounds more intellectual. Gary?
No, definitely not. Usually in America, a British accent is villainous, whereas over here, a European accent is villainous.
Ah, let's listen.
The first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. Professor LOEB, people have read your book to figure out what you think. Now that we know this commission is being formed, what is your running theory of what these are?
Well, thanks for having me. As a scientist, I'm guided by evidence. So I don't have access.
So there you go. Up front. Talking about it, saying he's guided by evidence.
Classified data. I think we're seeing just the tip of the iceberg. The government owns a lot of data. And a few months ago,
Again, you know, Avi, smart, knows what he's talking about, trying to bring out the truth as much as he can on this situation. Let's make the conversation more about him, less about the reporter, shall we? Turn up my audio that I've got in my studio without blowing this up, hopefully, because I can not hear it enough. Let's go ahead and play it.
Established the Galileo project, whose goal is to assemble new data that will be open and that we will analyze using the scientific method. So we are currently starting to build telescope systems. The first one will be on the roof of the center.
So there's a question about that before. They're starting to build these telescopes. So they're not taking initial telescopes that they've got out there and they're just trying to deploy them. They're building them. They're coming up with off-the-shelf technology that's being modified with other off-the-shelf components and custom software to aid in it. So figure that that's their prototype. That's their initial piece that they're putting together that they're going to launch worldwide at the locations that Lou Elizondo and others have pointed out.
Astrophysics on the Harvard University campus, and then we'll make copies of it and put it in various locations. And the goal would be to figure out
exactly
the nature of these unidentified objects that we hear about.
Well,
they want to understand the nature, they want to bring it out, and they want to make it open. Key. So different from what we're hearing from the federal government, and I love it.
Title of your book, Extraterrestrial. Do you think there are...
Is the audio not coming across clear on this, guys? I know Avi is a little bit, his accent is a bit thick. Let me go ahead and put it back. You can play it, we can hear it again.
I established the Galileo project, whose goal is to assemble new data that will be open and that we will...
Well, you guys aren't hearing it loud. I've cranked up the volume for the people in the audience.
Nice.
Using the scientific method. So we are currently starting to build
telescopes.
Systems. The first one will be on the...
And their systems. And the first one they're going to have...
of the Center for Astrophysics on the Harvard...
will be on the roof of the Center for Astrophysics at Stanford University. So they're building the initial telescopes, figuring out what they are, trying to get them deployed, and starting with an initial installation that they're going to take and then deploy worldwide.
University campus, and then we'll make copies of it and put it in various locations.
Make copies of it, put it in various locations.
The goal would be to figure out the nature of these unidentified objects that we hear about.
Well, the title of your book, Extraterrestrial, Do you think there are?
Yeah, he does have a smirky face. He's so happy about what the heck is going on, and he can't believe this is actually where we're at. So it's like that little kid who's in front of the camera. He's just so excited and so happy about the stuff would be. Who wouldn't be smiling at this point?
He's a scientist. There's so little real tangible data to be derived out of science, experimentally or philosophically. He's excited because this is going to bear tangible fruit. He already knows the answer to his question. He just needs to find the evidence now, and he's excited to be able to see it for himself.
Yeah.
He knows it's coming. I don't blame him. It's like a kid at Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smiley face, English accent.
Yeah.
How can you not trust this guy?
Hey, I never brought it up that we didn't trust him, but let's listen.
Intelligent beings out there?
Well, I think it's presumptuous of us to think that we are privileged in any way. We are not at the center of the universe.
There we go. We're not privileged. We're not at the center of the universe. The universe, the world, the sun doesn't all revolve around humanity. You know, hitting the right points.
What we find in our backyard is very common. The Earth-Sun system is very common within the Milky Way galaxy and beyond.
So what we're finding in our backyard is very common, a.k.a. ET.
The Earth? No, he was talking about the Earth and Sun system.
Yeah.
Well, it's I guess same thing, right?
Yeah.
Exoplanet.
Moreover, we're probably not the smartest kid on the block.
Ah, there we go. There's the humble part of it. I love it. Where you got these physicists and everything else saying, we figured all this out. This is exactly how the stuff is. He's going there and saying, yeah. He's repeating. He's mimicking. He's saying the same thing that Eisenhower's assistant said back in 1947, or what the ETs told us back in 1947. We're not that smart, at least compared to them. You know, you have to be humble sometimes.
I read in a book somewhere that they thought they had all their physics down in 1890. Could you imagine they stopped at 1890? Wow.
Yeah.
They also said like in 1908 that everything that can be invented has been invented.
Maybe that was it too.
Yeah.
That's pretty short-sighted.
Yeah.
Oof.
I gotcha.
Let's presume for a moment that this might be, I don't know what you call it, human-based, terrestrial, whatever it would be.
Human-based terrestrial? Just say it's easy to say non-human. That's probably something we need to start teaching the media about. Not being afraid to say extraterrestrial. Let's just call it a non-human intelligence.
Exactly.
Does that sound a lot less controversial than an extraterrestrial?
NHI, nice.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrial would be indicating not terrestrial as in on the surface of the planet. We don't know where their origin is or where they dwell.
Bing, bing, bing. That's right. Let's tell them about what Rob has won.
Yeah. That's genius.
He's won a car.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing is we don't know if they are not or from this earth, or let's say they have been here for generations and generations or whatever it could be. They were born here, which would make them a legal resident. Right? You're born in a country, you're a resident of that country.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer an alien.
For now.
Yeah.
Or
NHIs.
if you get Gary pregnant, one or the other.
I'm sure people have tried.
China, we now know, is way ahead in supersonic technology. They do quantum computing. They're really good at some stuff. Is it a big leap to think maybe they've mastered aircraft that seem to defy the laws of tech? And
quantum computing. Who else here has a good feeling that quantum computing is something that was inspired to us by potentially crash debris or alien influence, not necessarily human advancement? Because if you look at all the major advancements we've had in technology, all of that has come. The semiconductor, the transistor, all of these different fiber optics. And you got to remember, fiber optics, where are they used? In quantum computers. Wouldn't it be cool that if some of the initial, the strands of fiber optics they had were actually used for quantum type computing devices in these crash craft, and that could potentially, yes, Randall Hill, you know exactly where I was going, D-Wave, talking about dealing with alien intelligences that are from another dimension or reality.
Yeah, and it takes three quantum entangled particles to have 1 byte of information in a quantum computer. how would they even have thought that was possible unless they've seen it, an example of it, to even get the thought that they can control an electron or have them in a group assembled and be able to observe them and to extract data from that, like a binary code. They had to have seen it mirrored somewhere.
It's a possibility of what it could be, and a lot, inspiration, or a lot of the, potential entanglement that happens in the quantum consciousness that we all dealt with, because apparently a lot of the ideas that Einstein got came from his little naps that he was having and his trips into this quantum consciousness on a regular basis.
And nature as we know them.
Well, there are two ways to address it. One is intelligence, to figure out what other nations are doing, and I would argue that we probably know quite well. But the second is to monitor these objects and get more data on them.
So we're going to monitor the objects and get more data on them. Yes, great idea. If anyone out there hasn't subscribed and you're watching right now, or you haven't hit that thumbs up and you're enjoying this great free entertainment, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up right down below me. We appreciate it. It goes ahead and helps with the algorithm on YouTube to get more coverage for the channel and help us bring out more great content like this. Thanks for the reminder on that. Wreaking Havoc 215, as always. Great man. But we should be hearing something soon from the guys over at UAPX. Really looking forward to this, because rumor has it they've got some real data that can't be refuted by the likes of Mick West. Well, she'll still refute it, but it's real data, and that's the kind of stuff we need. Avi's going to follow up in another tier, but it's going to get better as time goes on, I tell you.
They analyze it in the scientific way. And there might be some features of these objects that humans have not been able to produce at all.
Again, what Lou has said many times. We know how they go. We understand it. We've got no idea how to get there, how to reach that level. Yeah.
Violate some, limitations of our current technologies. And the only way to find out is to get more data, more evidence.
You're a scientist.
Again, more data, more evidence in the public, more evidence for everyone to take a look at, not just the privileged few behind the role within the offices of the DoD.
Around the field, I mean, we all know scientists have pretty well figured out how the world began millions and millions of years away.
Do we really? Scientists know. The scientists who say they know really don't know. Just saying.
What is so hard about identifying an aircraft a couple hundred yards away from a camera?
Man, his producers stink. But at the end, it's a good question to ask. Get some people there.
Oh, it's just that we are not examining this subject scientifically. And the subject was ridiculed in the past. There was stigma attached to it.
But really quick, sometimes things that are a few hundred yards away are moving so fast we can't see them. Sometimes those objects a few hundred meters away are, or even a few hundred feet away, are cloaked, and you can only see them through infrared. So we have objects that are out there that are moving within the overall, they know how to evade us. They know how to just do enough to be sneaky around. But as Lou said, it's as if these days they want to be seen. That's the big change.
By virtue of their 5 observables, we can eliminate what they're not, which is terrestrial intellectual property.
Yes.
They already know. We just can't get access to that in the military. They've already established that this is not human. He's trying to establish for the American people and for the world in a non-classified way to establish for ourselves what the military already has.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing Pontificator brings up, which does go along with what Avi's doing. Institutional science has a problem. where it does not entertain evidence gathered by non-institutional scientists. That's one thing Avi Loeb said. They're going to restrict the data that they're dealing with, the data they've observed. If they had the ability to go ahead and look at data that's coming from the military, they don't want it because it could potentially be classified and, if you want to call it, put a poison pot, something, poison spike within what they're doing. So yes, there is something where they don't want to entertain evidence, but that's where, God, is it the Adam Project? What is the project that Lou is working on right now where it goes and does the analysis, an AI analysis of images and pretty much figures out if it is or isn't a UAP? So on that front, we are putting together AI-driven systems that can help classify, identify, and classify what are the images we're gathering. Is there a high propensity of, here's all the different objects, like we saw one before that, you know, it looked like it was a flying saucer, but it turned out to be a military tent, you know? So it's being able to have those systems that can operate, that can help, you know, sift through all of this data. Let's say sift through 80-85% of all the data, put it in the pile of needs to be reviewed by humans again, but it looks like it's not good, and give us that 15% of the golden amount that we can take and put in the good pile and say, you need to check this stuff out because we're looking at something here that, you know, checks all the boxes.
A classic example of why they need to get this out in front of the eyes of humanity to investigate is the 2-year classified investigation by a South American government into a potential UAP that they had evidence of and footage that they kept classified tremendously for 2 years straight. And when they finally gave up on it and published it to the public, within 2 weeks, it was solved.
Yes.
That it wasn't extraterrestrial. It was a smoking plane, but they couldn't figure it out in 2 years.
Yeah. And Nigel brings up, we need to go ahead and revisit that video of the UAP air show that, starts with an M. Where's that again, Gary?
Which place?
Where's where you had that one air show? Where's the one island we have where you have the elongated heads and has the resonance at?
Malta?
Malta, yes. Thank you. The UAP air show in Malta with the super slow-mo. Yeah, that was intriguing and impressive stuff. Absolutely. We'll take another revisit on that one because that's the kind of stuff that shows you they're either hanging out in space for a period of time with no movement or anything, or they're moving so fast they can't be seen. Phenomenal stuff, to say the least.
And cloaked, right?
I wouldn't call it cloaked. They're just
sometimes cloaked, right?
Sometimes cloaked, yeah. But these guys were just moving at a speed that people aren't going to pick up on it.
That was already mentioned in the report from the Director of National Intelligence to Congress on the 25th of June. And when you are not seeking evidence, then you don't find it. That's pretty simple. And what the Galileo project aims to do is to break this mold and try and figure out what is going on out there, because, you know, I think it's the duty of scientists to help the government in identifying the nature of these unidentified aerial phenomena.
This commission obviously has the world's eyes. I know that you have your own project.
Yeah. Unbelievable what we've got going on. It's like, you know, it's like we've had a quiet amount of time where there hasn't been a lot of news relative to disclosure. For once, we've had multiple things going the last couple of days to actually give us a great 2 hours of conversation on the subject and being able to go ahead and analyze it in ways that, frankly, you're not going to see analyzed anywhere else. Maybe other channels will go ahead and pick up on this, but I find it's important as we're hearing this stuff, let's pause it, let's talk about it, bring in comments from our panel, more importantly, bring in comments from our viewers, because that's what it's about. That's what disclosure about is. It's about the discussion. It's about understanding what's there. And if you listen to everything and you have to be quiet, you can't say anything and get to the end, you're not going to remember all the stuff you're going to want to cover on it. So it's something that we hope that our viewers enjoy, and and I enjoy what we're hearing coming from our viewers as we're going through it. Rob, what's your thought on Avi and what he had to say?
I'm tremendously excited about what he's the whole initiative with it.
Yeah.
Which aspect of what he had to say with it? Which part even? Just the totality of it.
Yeah.
They're replicating what the military has been keeping covert, and
Yeah.
I think it's vitally important, and it's going to take this narrative out of the DoD's hands and make them redundant at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm happy to see.
Yeah.
So they'll be out of this discussion, and we'll no longer have to be fighting with them with FOIAs
Yeah.
and all that crap and begging for scraps at news conferences and on the steps of the courthouse and stuff.
Yeah. In response to that, I would hope to see organizations that have Kevin Day and Gary Voritz and a bunch of others with regards to talking about the phenomena and their observations that they have been doing, to go ahead and take their knowledge of the technology they've built and the systems they've deployed, and more importantly, the results that they've recorded, and understand how important all of that is as we come together as, bridges between organizations, between countries, and look at this as a humanity aspect, taking this out of the control of the government, bringing it into our own level of disclosure. Greg.
I think the Galileo project is in its infancy, and there sure is a lot of talk, and I like to see the data to back it up. So I'm gonna just have to wait and see, and just let's see where it leads. So
Yeah,
I'm hopeful.
Absolutely. With that, this has been one heck of a show, and I have to say, hey Gary, can you give us a rundown of our the people who've given us super chats tonight, so we can thank them again for their involvement?
I'm not sure Gary's there.
Do we lose Gary?
I'd like to thank Oprah Winfrey, and I'd like to thank the pillow guy and the guy who invented.
Okay, I can bring this up. Gary is off doing something else. Oh, I moved you guys around. I don't want to do that. Wrong window to go ahead and grab Thomas. But let's see. I believe we've got Wreaking Havoc. Actually, let me just get to another window here. Oh, I can do this. And let me go ahead and actually find some music I can throw up in the background. Holy shit! Yes, I know. We'll figure out the way. There's songs, and let's get the music going and everything as I get to the back part of YouTube, and I can look ahead and see that they've got a list of all the people who donated with us today. Give me 1 second to get there. This has been a great show. Happy Saturday, everybody. This has been one heck of a conversation. We got 71 people watching tonight. Again, if you haven't subscribed, do us a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If I can get a customized channel here, let's hit one more thing, and I should be able to bring it up. Let's see under notification. If I go to supers, let's see if it's here. Oh, we want to thank Wreaking Havoc, Mr. Catfish 2100, Susan Goes, Time Traveling Agents, Wreaking Havoc again, Baba 200, Susan Goes, Time Traveling Asians again. And I believe that's everyone who we had tonight. If I didn't go ahead and bring it up tonight, yeah, I think that's about everyone who went and donated. If I can go ahead now and thank all the people out there in the chat. Let's see who we still have out there right now on our participant list. We have Elizondo, Arlene Atkinzel, Mr. Bob Perkins. If you don't understand that, just watch the chat. You'll understand about Bob. Elizabeth Walker Warren, Greg O'Brien, who is in the chat, and he's in the back. He's on the panel, and he's in the chat in the back. We've got Jam at Malibu, John Music, Kevin Clark, Lord Boss, Linda Thompson, Julie Welch O'Farrell was here earlier, Mr. Catfish 2100, Mule Skinner, N-Cloud, Pontificator, Randall Hill, Wreaking Havoc 215, Rob Heatherly, who's also in the panel and in the chat. Thanks for that. Appreciate it greatly. Mr. Paul Tucker was around. Pinzer Blackdom. Well, we'll figure out that name if I got that one wrong as well. Mr. Infrared, of course. Spaghetti Lee, thanks for coming out. Yeah, we'll set a time for a little visit over to your show. Eli McGinnis, thanks again for coming around. If I look back at the participants and everyone else who's in the chat, Mr. Catfish 2100, Brown.Flop, Mr. Dope Nose, anybody else? Mule Skinner, Linda Thompson, of course. I think that's Data Derivations. I want to thank everybody for coming out. More importantly, I also want to go ahead and thank our panel, thank our producer, Gary Ack, who's not in the back right now. He's got some other stuff going on. If I could bring you out for a second and say thank you, Gary. I appreciate you being here. It wouldn't be the same without you. So if I pop over to here, Gary, you're not around right now, but I thank you for coming out tonight and back into the studio with our crew. I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. It has been one heck of a show. Happy Saturday, everybody. And usually, as I say, and I'm very, very serious about this, eyes open, meaning we're watching everything. No fear, which means no matter what we're seeing, no matter how it is, we can't approach it with fear. Be safe, everyone. That's meaning just putting those things together. Watching without fear, being safe. And as always, we'll catch you on the flip side. Take care, everybody. We will see you tomorrow with Late Night Update and back to Disclosure tonight on Monday. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.